Pokemon Go has taken the world by storm. It was suggested that I make a video on it. So I looked around and thought, yeah, man, that's awesome. I've got all the stuff right here. My name is Tarmack, and this is Feature Creep. Gamification. Quite frankly, this word gives me the heebie-jeebies. It means manipulating people by putting game-type activities into non-game things. So, you know, those fitness apps that give you achievements, or that boss that gives out bloody gold stars to employees for getting more work done. I could use more gold stars, please. In the same vein, Pokemon Go is hardly a game. There is some Pokemon battle-like combat in the gyms where you can direct basic attacks, use charged attacks, dodge, and swap out your Pokemons, but that's about all there is to it. The rest is basically a geocaching app, and for those who don't know what geocaching is, the easiest way to explain it is in reverse. Imagine Pokemon Go, since you've all bloody well played it by now, but instead of random Pokemon, you can hide a real object, box, trinket, or whatever, and the geocaching app will assist others in getting nearby in the real world so that they can find the physical object that you left. In fact, Pokemon Go itself isn't even new. It also goes by the name of its predecessor by the same company called Ingress. With Ingress, you hunted down rifts or some such boring nonsense. So isn't it interesting that what is essentially the same game is now a worldwide phenomenon where Ingress was only a niche product? I personally find that part very interesting. As it turns out, and this was really no surprise, the skin matters. Take a look at Monopoly as an example. The base Monopoly game has had loads of success with everything from Transformers to Game of Thrones skinned versions, which all play exactly the same. Despite Pokemon Go being hardly a game at all, damn, it's pretty fun. I've probably logged around 20 hours at this point, amassed 44 Pokemon so far, including a 912 Vaporeon that I'm very proud of. As an aside, since I started this video off with a Louis C.K. ripoff, I may as well do another one. I'm not saying that for Pokemon Go, adults are better than kids or other young people, but being an adult is clearly better. Having a car for this game to zip around to Pokestops and gyms is undeniably superior to riding a bike. Just saying. All of this does pose a pretty stark conundrum, which I wanted to draw some attention to, and part of me wishes that I had gone to school for psychology because I would dearly like to know more about the processes going on in the background of the brain. Pokemon Go is one of a few games, and by far the most successful one, at the end of a pendulum that we have been approaching for a while now. Think back to the earliest game that you've played. Since my audience is mid-20s to mid-30s, that'll probably be the Nintendo, Super Nintendo era. These games were a pure experience. You had a save game in some, but others you had to play without that lovely option. And very rarely, outside of New Game Plus, was there any progression beyond each individual game when moving on to a new playthrough. Then MMOs happened. MMOs are actually a very different beast because in the old subscription model, they relied on a totally different design mentality. Before subscriptions, there was less benefit to the game developer to elongate the length of a game. Sure, you had your Baldur's Gates and your Planescape Torments, but for the most part, games were in the sub 40-hour range, including side questing. Even a game like Final Fantasy, with more liberal grinding for the time, can easily be done in less than 40 hours. Especially with online games, if there is no post-release monetization, the longer that a player plays, the more money they cost the developer in server value. MMOs changed all of that. Now a developer needed to keep you playing for months. So what did they do? Well, they had to artificially increase the amount of time that everything took. But that's not good enough because people get bored. And all of that artificial lengthening quickly became known as the grind, and in order to entice people to put up with the grind, which was not fun, numerous carrots had to be hung from sticks overhead to keep that subscription active for longer. Loot rewards, achievements, pets, mounts, player housing, guilds, the fabled endgame content, PvP, every single progression system came with a load of shinies to keep people interested. In fact, to go back to the gamification word, they had to gamify the non-game or work parts of the game in order to keep people playing. And before the MUD crowd gets up in arms, you don't count because MUD communities were chat and friends first, games second, and usually free, at least in my opinion. This is part of why I find Pokemon Go so amusing, troubling, interesting, and perplexing all at the same time. They gamified Pokemon. They made an app almost entirely out of the work part of a Pokemon game without including most of the game parts. I'll absolutely concede that a PvP structure of the gym is a bit different, although in order to get any reward, which of course is microtransaction currency, you have to hold a gym for a pretty long time, which in many places is unlikely to occur. But outside of that, at least it has some real gameplay there. The reason that I say Pokemon Go is troubling is that Nintendo, the Pokemon company, and Niantic have shown the entire game industry that a non-game microtransaction factory can be a massive success with gamers as long as it has the right skin on it. And because this kind of product is largely based on existing GIS or geographic information systems and is pretty simple in design, we're about to see a whole bunch of Pokemon Go knockoffs. What remains to be seen is whether these come from major developer sources, and frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if they do. I realize they've already made a Hitman Go game, which is totally different, but wouldn't a Hitman game be neat where you're given a digital target similar to Pokemon and you have to find and kill them in a set period of time, but out in the real world? Minecraft Go, where your neighbor's house might have diamond blocks under the back deck. Final Fantasy Go, because Square Enix knows how to milk a franchise. Resident Evil Go, where zombies find and chase you. I can't see that one going wrong in the slightest, with children running out into traffic to avoid digital zombies. It'd be great. The point is that Pokemon Go at its core is nothing more than a geocaching app with a few little features built onto it. Most of it is not a game, not really. However, what it is a fun collecting activity where you can go out with friends or by yourself, meet new people as you crowd around the confetti heart-dropping Pokestops, and get some exercise while not thinking about getting exercise. Outside of people being stupid and not watching where they're going and then blaming the game when they get hurt, there's really nothing negative about it. Hell, even the microtransactions are totally unnecessary in order to enjoy the app, where they certainly could have gone more draconian but didn't. I guess I'm just concerned that we'll see more things continue to go in this direction. I'm tired of the gamification of the game industry. If your game isn't fun, introducing psychological trickery and gamifying non-fun parts of your game is a crappy move to make. How about you just make a fun game that people really want to play instead? Just a thought. Just a playful thought. So let's chat about Pokemon Go in the comments. Have you played it? I'm in Canada, so I had to get a sideloaded APK running on my phone, which works perfectly. Please do comment down below. The game footage, again, is Song of the Deep because Nintendo are copyright jerks, and I feel bad that I got code for Song of the Deep and haven't finished my review yet since it came out last Tuesday. Feature Creep is a regular show every week. You should subscribe. And now, if you'll excuse me, there seems to be a Pokemon that I've never seen before in my backyard somewhere. Gotta catch them all, or so I've been told. That's all I have to say. Tarmack out.